people are saving like hundreds of thousands of pounds, sometimes millions of pounds of tax, and just winging it, like for the sake of, you know, spending a very, very small amount of money and getting peace of mind.
Jeri Williams is a chartered accountant with 20 years of experience. Jeri started her own practice in 2016 from her garage and now manages an international accounting group, Smooth Accounting UK and Dubai.
We get these conversations on a daily basis where we have to explain that that's not how a tax system works, right? If it were that easy, nobody would pay tax in the UK, right?
But obviously a lot of people are really curious about moving to Dubai. But what are the biggest myths or misunderstandings they need to watch out for in terms of tax?
It's such a massive thing to kind of move your business, move yourself, move your family to another country. You know, if you're prepared to take all of that risk, at least get the right tax advice.
So welcome today to the Hoxton Life podcast, and we've got a very special guest with me today, Jeri. So Jeri Williams is a chartered accountant with 20 years of experience and an entrepreneurial powerhouse who swapped rainy England for the sunny sands of Dubai and now is back in rainy England again. Jeri started her own practice in 2016 from her garage and now manages an international accounting group, Smooth Accounting UK and Dubai, which has staff and clients both in the UK and the UAE, much obviously like the clients that we manage globally for Hoxton. Jeri specialises in UK and UAE tax advice and has a new book coming soon titled Moving to Dubai. So thanks very much, Jeri, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. So, you know, I'm assuming you probably get this a lot. Well, I know you do get this a lot, but obviously a lot of people are really curious about moving to Dubai. But what are the biggest myths or misunderstandings they need to watch out for in terms of tax?
I think the main one we come across is people that want to benefit from Dubai's low rates of tax and, you know, no income tax, really low corporate tax, but aren't actually prepared to relocate here properly.
Yeah.
So we get it all the time. People saying, oh, you know, but I know someone that's done it and, you know, or I'm sick of paying so much tax in the UK, so I'm going to set up a business in Dubai and then I'll recharge some of it to Dubai. And we get these conversations on a daily basis where we have to explain that that's not how a tax system works, right? If it were that easy, nobody would pay tax in the UK, right? It's not that easy. It's actually quite hard to escape the UK tax system. You know, they intentionally make it hard. Because, I mean, how many people do you know that come to Dubai all the time? I mean, everyone you speak to is like, oh, let's go to Dubai. You know, if it was easy just to come here every so often, everyone would do that. So I think that's the biggest misconception, is that you need to control and manage and run a business from the UAE if you want the UAE tax rates. Yeah.
It's tough as well, isn't it? Like you said, actually proving that. And I mean, have you ever had to defend cases with HMRC to prove that exact point? And what kind of steps realistically can you see people take?
So no, touch wood, we have not had to defend any yet. But we're we're chartered accountants, we're super careful with our clients. So even if we were to end up in a situation where we had a tax inspection like that, we'd be fine and be able to defend it, no problem. But basically our clients they make the strategic decisions from the UAE. The problem is when people think, well, I go to Dubai twice a year, so I'll just say that I make the important decisions. Yeah. But kind of forget the fact that they're running the business every single day on their phones, on their emails, physically in person, having meetings, their offices in the UK, their staff are in the UK. Like, they forget all these things. So I think importantly, you know, your base of operations needs to be here. Staff, clients, you know, the commercial aspect of what you're doing needs to be here, but also the directors and the ultimate owners need to physically be here. And that, you can obviously prove that with travel, your visas and your travel tickets and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
it's not as easy as people think, is it?
No.
I see it quite a lot with clients who are like, you know, I'm going to sell my business and I'm just going to move to Dubai.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't actually quite work like that.
No, it doesn't. And that's the thing, like, even if you sell a business, you need to be gone for 5 years,
Yeah.
you know, to escape the UK kind of tax clutches on that sale. And it's like anything, and I'm sure you guys come across it in kind of financial planning as well, that it sounds too good to be true. It is, right? So like, you know, even me, I've got a UAE business which has UAE clients only. It has UAE staff. I am here in the UAE a lot. You know, I'm back and forth all the time. And my UAE business still pays UK corporate tax because I live in the UK.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that I'm here a lot, and like I say, all my operations are here, it's not enough. And that's what I try and explain to people. Like, if I'm not doing it, you know, I'm a chartered accountant. If there was a way, I would be doing it. But there isn't a legal way to do it. Therefore, I'm declaring all my UAE profits in the UK and paying, sadly, UK corporate tax on those. You know, it's just the way it is.
And I think that's really the key, isn't it? Is making sure that you get good advice before you start running into this, because a lot of people try and DIY it. A lot of people go, my mate said, and actually without consulting someone who actually knows, you end up in all kinds of problems later on.
Yeah, for sure. That's the, you know, always say to people, wherever you get proper advice. It's such a massive thing to kind of move your business, move yourself, move your family to another country. You know, if you're prepared to take all of that risk, at least get the right tax advice. Because another thing is people will get it wrong in terms of like how long they can go back to the UK for and just assume, oh, I can go back for 90 days, but they don't understand that it might not be 90. And if it is 90, it might have some other restrictions around it. And, you know, get it wrong by one day and you're going to pay UK tax on your worldwide income. And you've moved to another country. Like that's how kind of impactful making the wrong decision is. So definitely get proper advice.
If you get it wrong, you can get it really wrong.
Really wrong, yeah. And no one wants that. Yeah, exactly.
So someone's hopefully trying to get it right.
Yes.
And they're saying, I am actually looking to set up my business here.
Yeah.
What are the steps and things that they should start putting in place, or they need to start getting together? What's like their shopping list of items?
Yeah, sure. So we generally start with the tax consultancy first. So make sure that we do a tax report, kind of go through all the steps of becoming non-resident, you know, what they need to do. Because I think once people get their head around that and they're happy that they can make that work, then the rest of it follows. So then it's a case of, okay, what is it the business can be doing? What activity is it? Do you need a free zone company? Do you need a mainland company? So kind of understanding the best structure. Is it a regulated industry? All that kind of stuff. So once we've established that, it's then setting the company up. Then they come to Dubai and we get their visas, and then kind of just accounts and tax kind of follows after that. So that's generally the order we tend to take people through.
And the cost is quite a lot different as well. And this is another thing I don't think people really get.
Yeah.
Like in the UK, where you can set up a business for $6.99, you can get your bank account super easy.
Yeah.
You know, using Tide or Revolut or whoever's offering it. Whereas in the UAE, it's not quite like that.
No, it's more expensive, but naturally there's no tax. So, you know, swings and roundabouts, right? So it is more expensive to set up. You do have usually annual trade license renewal fees. So people think they just pay $5,000 to set up and then they're done, but it's like actually paying that every year.
Yes.
And stuff like that. So it's making sure people understand that they do need to budget for their setup costs, their annual renewal costs, their visa renewal costs, as and when those come up. So yeah, it's definitely more expensive and more admin heavy here, which is why we kind of do the formations and do the company setup process for people, because it's not like you can just go onto company's house and just set a company up. It's not like that here. And there's so many different options here. And depending on what you do will depend where is best for you. You know, it's like, you know, if you're a recruitment company, you're best going to probably Maidan or somewhere like that has recruitment as an activity. You know, if you're in medical, maybe you're going to go Healthcare City. Like there's different options depending on what you do. So it's just making sure you get your activity right. Don't just go for like consultancy or you know, something like easy just to set it up and it's actually not what you're doing. Not
the right not the right activity. That's a very valid point, because there are a lot of free zones that actually advertise to people directly as well.
Yes.
And of course they're going to only place you in their free zone.
Yeah.
It's like going to a mortgage broker.
Yeah.
That is, you know, it's like going to get your mortgage from HSBC. They're not going to offer you Barclays or NatWest or whoever else. It's only going to be from that provider, which again is why making sure that you speak with someone is important.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, I think it's tempting for people because if they see like a cheaper option or they think, well, I'm sure I can do it myself. But the problem is, sometimes people get set up on the wrong type of visa. They've got an investor visa when they should have an employee visa. And, we see that all the time. And I think if you're willing to make a move to another country, at least you want to get those bits right and not worry about it. It's like anything that you do. You just want peace of mind that what you've done is right. It's not going to come back to bite you. So that's why we kind of make sure we set people up in the right free zone or mainland, if that's the case.
Is there an amount you look for turnover or revenue, profitability, whatever it is, before you would say, yeah, do you know what, you actually is well worth you setting up? Because you can also get like freelance visas and things like that as well, can't you?
Yeah, you can. And freelance visas, as far as I'm aware, because it's not something that we offer, but they're more like employed visas, really, because somewhere down the line, a company's issued a ton of visas and you're effectively employed by that company. So you don't really have control over your visa if you're a freelancer. I think there's not necessarily a profit or a turnover figure. I think because we have some clients that don't actually trade their companies here. So they set them up as a vehicle to moving out. They may trade them in the future, but they actually have UK business doing really, really well. Or they have companies in other countries doing really, really well. And they just want to live here. Yeah. So I wouldn't say there's necessarily like a minimum turnover or profit, but I think their overall financial position is important. It's not cheap in Dubai. You probably see it all the time, like online posts of people going, "Oh, I'm just going to come to Dubai and hope for the best," kind of thing. And you're like,
it's risky.
How are you going to afford that? Yeah, it's super risky. I'm not saying you shouldn't take risks, because you absolutely should, but I think calculated risks and make sure that you know how much it's going to cost and that that's going to work for you.
Yeah, it is a very, very expensive place to live.
It is.
I think as well, a lot of people get caught up in the lifestyle when they come over as well, which obviously can impact short-term savings very quickly.
Yeah.
Housing is more expensive. There's obviously a hell of a lot of positives to being here, I would say. I've
definitely
lived in the Middle East for 14 years.
Yeah, you've been a
long time, but and I've seen it all the way through. But the things that people massively underestimate are just the general living costs.
Yeah.
Schooling as well and stuff like that you take for granted at home, you don't get here. So there's a lot more to it than just tax.
Yes.
But it is an important part that you should make sure you get right.
Yeah. Definitely.
So have you got any success stories of people that have moved over? So people sitting on the fence that have got it really right and have done really well out of it.
Yeah, to be honest, I think I have only had success stories, really, because that's from our clients and like even myself, for my own story. I moved here not really with any intention of having a UAE business, just wanting to move here for a couple of years. And then because of what Dubai is like, and it's just such a buzzing, fast-paced place, and everyone's kind of an expat, everyone wants to help everyone, I ended up with people wanting my help and my services and, well, can you do our accounts? We've got a UAE business. Jeri, can you do them? And I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
Not one to ever turn down an opportunity. You set your business up. Can you set ours up? Yep, no worries. And then all of a sudden now I've got a UAE business and it's grown so ridiculously quickly. So I think that is a success story in itself, because it just shows the power of networking, for one, and not even networking in the kind of traditional going to events and stuff, but I just mean meeting people and having conversations with people. And, that opportunity here in Dubai, I've seen myself personally, but also from our clients, the amount of clients that I've had come here and they're like, just need a company, not going to trade in the UAE. They've got a company in the UK, it's turning over millions, they're doing very, very well. And then literally I'll get a message going, just signed a deal just signed a contract in the UAE, everything's changed. And I'm like, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest, because that's what it's like here.
Yeah.
There's just so much business to be done here. And I find it so much easier. And I don't even live here anymore. And I find doing business here and signing clients here so much easier than in the UK.
Yeah.
Just so much easier.
Less competitive?
I don't even know if maybe it's less competitive from my perspective, because we are British chartered accountants and we have the UK UAE kind of niche. That's what we do. We help UK business owners out here. So maybe there's a bit of a niche there and maybe there's less competition. But I think it's more because people here generally have a lot of money and they're not so price sensitive. You know, the economy's taken a bit of a bashing in the UK. People don't have so much disposable income. They're trying to keep their costs down. So everything's a bit of a hard sell, I'd say, in the UK. Whereas here, I mean, people don't very rarely even look at the costs. You know, we send quotes, people just go, yeah. Like, they don't even, not bothered. They just go, yeah, I want you to do the account. So I'll just sign. Like, it's not, you know, obviously it wouldn't be a ridiculous amount, but I'm just saying, like, it wouldn't matter if I was, say, you know, say I'm, I don't know, 5,000 dirhams a month and another accountant is 3,000 dirhams a month. It wouldn't, they're not so like, well, I'm going to go with the cheap option here. I haven't found that really here.
Why would you say that?
I just think because people have got more money here, and they're not paying tax, so they're not so kind of penny pinching. And I understand why people do it in the UK, 100%. Like, I do it as well. But I think it's important to get value for money. So I'm not so bothered about. I don't want the cheap option. I want to get. You know, I'm happy to go for most expensive if that's the service I receive. And I just think here people are more. They have that growth mindset. You know, it's like, just need my account sorted. You're great. You're going to do them. Yeah, done. Like, it's that kind of mentality. Whereas in the UK, it's just such a kind of long, drawn out decision. Yeah. You know, that's what I find anyway.
Yeah. Quicker. It does. Things do move at pace here for sure.
They do.
Which is good. I think things are definitely, in terms of the administration process of setting up businesses, has become much more streamlined. Yeah. Here. Yeah. I remember when I first set up Hoxton in 2018. You know, that was quite a long-winded process. Yeah. So now you can get a business incorporated and a bank account fairly quickly. Yeah. I still find banking is a bit of an issue here, and that needs to be taken seriously.
Yes, it does.
Because you can't have a business set up here with a bank account back in the UK.
No, you can't.
Not really going to work.
No, you can't. And the amount of clients that ask that as well, the amount of times I get, well, what am I going to do? Because my clients won't pay. You know, my clients are UK based and they won't pay UAE. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, that's just the way it is, you know. And so there are better options now. Even in the 3 years I've been doing it, it's come on away here, but it is more of a challenge, like, than it is in the UK. Set up a bank account for a business for sure.
Yeah, it is tough. It's the anti-money laundering. Obviously, Dubai were on the grey list. Yes. Now they're not, which is fantastic. But also, I think the banks took that, and the country as a whole took that massively. It's a big important thing. It makes everyone's life much more complicated that lives here. Even for them to raise money, it makes it much more difficult. So very happy that they're off now, which is fantastic, as I'm sure the rulers are as well. Yeah. But then therefore AML is much stricter.
It is.
And KYC than what it was previously. I think even buying property and stuff like that here as well now. I mean, you used to be able to buy it with cash, which is quite an alien concept, isn't it? In the UK, when you probably can't even take £1,000 out your bank account now.
Yeah, true.
But it is a cash society here. Yeah, it is not a debt, and the credit cards are available. You should watch out for them as well, because some of them do attract really high interest rates.
They do.
But cash is more accepted.
Yeah, and checks.
Yeah.
You know, checks are still
post-dated checks.
Yeah, like, give the landlord 4 checks. And I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean? No, I have a checkbook. But it's just the way it is, you know? Checks are a thing, and you need a checkbook if you want to rent somewhere and stuff. I mean, they are starting to accept now, like, online payments and stuff like that, but it depends what landlord you get. Yeah. They might go, no, it's checks.
Yeah, no. I know my landlord's the same.
Yeah.
You know, he does not like... He does not like bank payments. No. He prefers it coming from check, which I get, because there's a lot of stability around it.
There is, because if you've given a check and it doesn't clear, you can get in a lot of trouble here.
You can get in a lot of trouble. Interestingly enough, though, they have made it now civil, not criminal.
Yes.
So, although I think you can still get put in jail, don't hold me to that. But if it's not like in the UK where you just you can turn around and go so what?
Yeah. You can't do that
seriously, which is a good thing anyway. You shouldn't be bouncing.
No, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't be bouncing checks. What's the biggest differences between the UK and UAE tax system?
I think the UAE tax system is newer. So where we have in the UK such a old and very, very, very complex and detailed legislation. They don't have that here. So, because I often get asked by accountants, like, well, how do you know how to do like UAE accounts and tax and everything? And I'm like, well, if you can do UK tax, which is mind-blowing, it's so complicated. Firstly, the UAE only brought corporate tax in 2023. So it's brand new. No accountants know how to do it, right? Like literally we're submitting the first returns as we speak, and that's across the whole country, right? So it's not like they all know how to do it and I don't. Nobody does, right? So every single one of them is learning. But secondly, the legislation is really, really small in comparison to the UK legislation. So VAT is 5%. The VAT legislation only came in like 5 years ago. So that's super, super small. The corporate tax legislation is brand new. So it's a lot easier to digest and learn. The skills are transferable. But that's the difference, I would say, is that you've got really, really complex, thousands of pieces of legislation make up the UK tax system. Here, it's
minimal.
I think it will develop over time because as people are submitting returns, they're going to build out the legislation to go, hang on, how do we deal with this? How do we deal with that? But at the moment, it's a lot more simple.
So let's look at the different types of tax. So from a personal perspective and from a corporation perspective. Yes. So income tax rates.
Yep, don't exist. Yep.
CGT.
So it doesn't exist in Dubai. And in the UK, depends what you sell. It's different for companies and properties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, none in Dubai.
None in Dubai. And then obviously from the corporate perspective, obviously the last one, let's do inheritance tax. There is none.
None.
Again, stamp duty when you buy property.
There is a tax. There is not a tax charge, but there is a fee.
Land.
There is a Dubai land fee. Yeah, I don't know how much that is.
I think that is. I think that's 4%.
Or 2%.
2%.
Or 2% to one and 2% to the agent, or something.
Yeah,
something like that.
So if you're buying a property, there are taxes.
Yes.
For fees. It's not called a tax yet. But the buy land duty.
Yes.
Then if we kind of move into the the corporate realm, so there is a corporation tax,
which is 9%,
and that was newly introduced.
Yeah.
So there is tax.
There is in 2023 that came in.
VAT,
5%.
And what's the threshold?
375,000 dirhams.
So if you make over 375,000 profit revenue, then you have to file VAT returns
or exempt yourself if your sales are outside the UAE.
Yeah, which actually quite a lot of businesses do operate like that.
So many.
But then you can't just say, well, I didn't know.
No, you can't.
You have to file an exemption. Do you have to file the exemption every year?
No, just one off. But you still are. You still need to comply with the same rules. So the 375,000 dirham turnover threshold still applies, and a lot of people get that wrong because they think, well, I've moved to Dubai, my customers are all in the UK, for example, so there's no VAT. Right?
Yeah.
But they've done 1 million dirhams turnover. Well, it doesn't matter because it's all zero. It does matter because you've missed a deadline now to register and exempt yourself. So basically, you have to go through the registration process and exempt yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
So you can't ignore it. As soon as you hit 375, you've got to do something about it right away.
Yeah.
Very short window to get it in.
A lot of people also believe that because obviously, if we go back to the individuals, so. You've got 9% corporation tax, but clearly a way to lower that is to pay yourself.
Yes.
So if you pay yourself an income from the business, that would lower your taxable profits in the year.
Yeah.
So effectively, that is a good way to distribute.
It is. You do have to be careful because they've got transfer pricing legislation in place. So what people can't do is just wipe their profits out or bring themselves below the threshold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got to pay yourself a commercial rate of salary. People always want to know what that is. And I go, if you're going to employ someone to do your job. And the difficulty is that directors tend to always go, well, I should be paid.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Take yourself out of the equation because you're the owner. So as the owner, if you were a third party doing your job, you wouldn't pay them every penny that your business earns. No. As an owner, you would then get nothing. So what would you pay someone to run the business or do what you do on a daily basis so that you as the owner still earn a good margin? Like you can't, it's trying to get people to kind of differentiate between the two because they can't think like that. They think, well, I should pay myself 100,000 dirhams a month. And you go, okay, well, you weren't paying yourself that in the UK. So, you know, or you, if you looked to employ someone to do a similar role, not a director, but an actual role in the business, what would that be? You know, a manager, for example. And so you should be really careful that it's a commercial rate of pay.
Yeah. Don't be silly with it, basically.
Don't be silly with it.
And then the other thing that people also need to remember is that if there are dividends left, that's obviously after corporation tax, but 9% corporation tax is not a lot.
No, it's not at all.
It's very low in comparison to other places. In the UK, it's 21.
It's between, well, it's 25, but it starts at 19 and up to 50k is 19, and then it gradually goes up to 25. So for most people, they're paying 25%.
And if it's an investment company, we'll come on to that next, but if it's an image structure as an investment company, it's 25 anyway.
It's still 25, yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. So let's talk about that, because then we do have other types of companies as well. So we've obviously got trading companies, which we've talked about, and people will have companies to house themselves so they can get a visa. Then the next one that we would typically deal with would be family investment companies or companies that you hold your assets in. So why is that a good idea if you were in Dubai, and anything you should be careful about?
So it depends. I hate to give that kind of politician's answer, but it really does, because like, I'm sure when you guys are advising people, there's no kind of black and white. So it depends on their whole circumstances. I mean, people not always going to stay here forever, you know, so it's thinking about what's the long-term plan. Like, are you staying here? Are you going back? Because ultimately, a lot of the time, people are just delaying their tax position. Like, if you're moving back to the UK at some point and you're going to fall back into the UK tax system, that's just the way it goes. Same as what happened to me when I moved back. So I think housing assets, you know, it wouldn't make any difference if you had an income generating asset here as an individual or as a company, really, except for that you might end up paying corporate tax if you own it through a company out here, because there's no income tax. If you own it personally, you're not going to pay any tax. So I think looking at the bigger picture, what's the long-term plan? Are you staying here? Are we going somewhere else? If we've got kids, are we passing it on? Like, what are we doing? And then advising whether a corporate structure is best for that, which is exactly the same as what we do in the UK, really, but there's just more tax implications.
Inheritance tax is an important one to consider, all of that as well, making sure that we take that into account too. For sure. So what are the common mistakes you see people make when they rush into Dubai without making a proper plan?
Good question. Quite often people set up investor visas and then want to take a salary and they can't. I see that all the time, and they don't understand. They're like, I work in the business. I go, I know, but you don't have a contract of employment. And the problem comes with, obviously you can take money out of the company, but it's dividends. If you're an investor, it's dividends. If you're on an employee visa, so you're the manager of the business, it's a salary, and that's what's different. So like you mentioned earlier, about trying to reduce your profit to reduce corporate tax by paying yourself a salary, you can't do that if you're on an investor visa, you know, and you can do it, but if, you know, once it goes to the auditors or whatever, they're going to go, where's the employment contract for this salary? And where's the salary certificate showing the amount you're being paid? Oh, you don't have it. No, you're on an investor visa. That's not salary, right? So it's just that one comes up a lot, I think. What else do we find? People moving partway through the tax year and not understanding split year rules, because they are really, really complicated, and just getting up and going and thinking that from the minute they leave, even if it's August. So tax year starts 6th of April. If you move anyway through the tax year, like leave the UK at any point, it's a split year, and split year is different rules, potentially. And people don't always understand that. So they'll just move randomly and go, well, it's fine. Like, I'm allowed to go out for 90 days. And I moved 6 months through the year, so I'm allowed to go out for 5 days. Like, and they have no concept that actually, like, dividends are not tax-free in a split year, for example. If you want the split year to be tax-free, you need to also be gone the full following tax year. There's like loads of little nuances, and people just don't understand that.
And they don't receive the proper advice. And then they get caught up. Which is tough. So you mentioned something interesting before. You said audit. So obviously we have small companies exemptions in the UK. Out here, does that exist in Dubai, or would you recommend the companies get audited or not?
So yes, it does exist. So initially when corporate tax came in, there was talk of everyone was going to have to audit accounts to submit corporate tax. So even if you were dormant, they had to be audited. I know. And we were like, oh no. And then they announced that that was not the case. So unless you meet the criteria, either you're a qualifying free zone, which very few people are, which means you pay 0%, then you have to have an audit, or you're a large company. This is testing me now. I think it's like 50 million dirham turnover, something high. Then you have to have an audit. If not, if you don't meet those and there's no other reason for it, then you don't need to be audited. So you can just prepare accounts as normal. The issue comes when a lot of people need audited accounts for other reasons, like you need to renew your trade license. Say you've got a mainland company and they go, can we have your audited accounts? We're not letting you renew without them. Or the FTA request them, which they can do at any point. We've seen that happen. So we do advise our clients to get audited accounts done anyway, but ultimately it's up to them.
Yeah, like I think we would typically advise it. I know we have to because we're regulated.
You're regulated, yeah.
So we have to get it. It's a stipulation for the regulator.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, it's, you know, if you have got a trading business out here, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And it's not like an audit in the UK.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah. It's a bit less intrusive. Probably,
exactly. That's a very good way of,
PC way of putting
it. Yeah.
What's, like, going on to the last couple of questions for you, Jeri, what's one thing you'd advise someone to do before speaking to a tax advisor or accountant?
Get recommendations, I would say, or at least do a bit of due diligence, look up reviews online, that kind of thing. Don't listen too much to the noise and Facebook groups and the general, like, Joe public trying to advise, which, I see it all the time where I'm like, if someone will ask a tax question on a Facebook group and just random members of the public are like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
It's just...
Please don't do that.
It's like, please don't do that. But I'm just sat there, like, as a bystander, just watching this conversation and all these people saying absolutely, like, wild things. So yeah, just try not to listen too much to the noise. I mean, it's another reason why I've written a book, because, I'm trying to brain dump. And although I can't give specific tax advice to your individual circumstances, like, I've tried to put as much information in the book as possible. From my perspective, obviously a lot of it, but like, I've moved with my family, I've lived here, I've done the schooling, I've done the business side, I've done all of that. So, I think get recommendations and try not to listen to kind of, you can listen to people in terms of, like, socially and, what schools they like and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to really important business stuff, just, make sure you try not to listen to random people.
And where can people find your book if they want to buy it?
It's not released yet, but it will be, possibly by the time this podcast comes out. It's going to be on Amazon.
Yeah.
Everyone can join the waitlist for it. On my LinkedIn, Jeri Williams, all my social media accounts, there is a link to the waitlist. It should be out in the next couple of weeks. I'm hopeful by the end of May it will be out, but I've been saying that for about 2.5 years. So
it's on its way though. It's written.
It just needs editing. It's just not final.
And finally, if someone is serious about relocating to Dubai, their business interests, selling their business, what's the very first step they should take from a tax perspective?
Yeah, I think establishing their personal tax position, like what it is now, what it's going to be, and how they make that cut from the UK tax system, really, really break the ties, I guess. I think that understanding that is where so many people don't and just wing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's such a big, people are saving like hundreds of thousands of pounds, sometimes millions of pounds of tax and just winging it. Yeah. Like, for the sake of, spending a very, very small amount of money and getting peace of mind. So I think definitely the personal tax side is the big one. Yeah, definitely. Get that right first off. Yeah. And understand it, understand this is my situation, not like, because I say to people all the time, like, because they go, well, what about you? How many days were you allowed back? And I go, don't worry about me, because mine might be different to yours. You might be allowed back for 6 months. People are sometimes allowed back for 6 months of the year and they don't realise. Yeah. So it's what's specific to you. Yeah. And getting it right. And getting that advice early on. Definitely. Because paying a few £1,000s initially is well worth it. Yep. Than getting tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds tax bill later. Yeah. Which we've also seen as well from people that have got bad advice. Yeah. So we obviously work very closely with Jeri.
If you are interested in setting up your business or moving your business to Dubai, obviously let us know, and then we can connect you with Jeri as well. But yeah, it's a very important subject that you should 100% receive advice on. And again, none of this is personalized financial advice, none of this is personal tax advice. We will need to make sure that we get your personal circumstances and provide that in regulated format, especially from the financial advice side. It just one last thing, is tax advice regulated here?
No.
No. And on that,
It's not.
on Michelle.
That sounded like a really short answer, but
no,
it isn't. No.
But on that, we will, thanks Jeri very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hope you found it useful, and please like and subscribe if you found this good and you want more information on your tax affairs and financial advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.